In part 8, we will discuss two topics. First is numerical integration, and second, we will see how to handle heat transfer problems using finite element method. So why we need to know this integration by numerical methods? Because often we need to derive stiffness matrices in finite elements. To do that, we have to do integrations to make functionals and then minimize them to get the stiffness matrix. So this is the reason why integration comes into play in finite element method. So one of the ways of using numerical methods for integration is using Gauss quadrature. Probably you must have studied this in numerical methods. So in that case, it will be just a recap of what you did in that course. Okay. So what is the basic idea of Gauss quadrature? Now, supposing that we have a function f of x, which is to be integrated between two limits a and b. Now, the idea is between a and b, select some points and evaluate the function at these points, and then add some weightage to each of these points, multiply this weightage with the function value which we obtained before. So suppose that we have n sampling points between a and b. So take the first sampling point, and at that sampling point, find the value of the function, multiply that with one weighting function. Then take the second sampling point, evaluate the function at that sampling point, multiply with another weighting function. Like that, do for all the sampling points which you have chosen, and then add them. That summation which you are going to get will be the value of the integral which is required. So this is what exactly is happening. So we have a function f of x between a and b. We have to integrate between these two limits. So what we actually do is, between these limits, we take some points, 1, 2, 3, like that, maybe up to n points, and then do what I said before. But one important thing to do before we do that is, we have to replace this limits a to b to -1 to 1. That is, the original function f of x must be integrated between a to b. But when we do that, we change the limits from a to b to -1 to 1. When we do the change the limits, we have to change the function also. That means the f of x, which is the original function, will now be replaced with another function which is called f of lambda. In other words, x, which is the independent variable, will be replaced by another independent variable or another variable called lambda. So this is the first thing we are doing. We change the limits from a to b to -1 to 1. And then we are going to evaluate this function at various values of lambda, and then multiply that with the weighting function for the first point, then second point, then third point. So we are actually summing them between I equal to 1 and I equal to n. Whatever you are getting, sum them, which will give you the value of the integral. So these are the weighting functions, weighting factors, and the sampling points. Now, how many sampling points you should choose depends on the order of the function which you are going to evaluate. And these are the corresponding weighting functions. So if you have 2 points, I equal to 2 from the previous diagram, when I say 2 I equal to 2, then I equal to 3, 4, 5, like that you can keep going. Now, what should be the number of sampling points which you are going to use? That depends on the function itself. So supposing that 2n minus 1 is the order of the function being integrated, then at least n sampling points must be used. So let us take this x cube dx, integral a to b. Now, this 2n minus 1 is the order. So here the order is 3. That means 2n minus 1 equals 3. From this, we will get n equal to 2. That means at least 2 sampling points must be used. There is no problem if you want to go for more points, but at least 2 must be used. Once you decide that you're going to use 2 sampling points, you can come to this table, and for 2 sampling points, we have these sampling points, and these are the weighting functions. Okay, there are some 4 steps which must be done when you use Gauss quadrature for integration. First step says change the function from f of x to f of lambda. As I said before, when you change the limits, you are also changing the function itself. To do that, use this formula, that is x equals b plus a over 2 plus b minus a over 2 lambda, where a and b are the lower and upper limits respectively. Now, second step says find out how many sampling points you will need. Based on the discussion in the last slide, find how many sampling points you will need. Then evaluate f of lambda at these lambdas. Multiply each evaluation by a corresponding weight. That is, if f of lambda 1 is the evaluated function at lambda 1, then multiply that with some function, some value, w1, and so forth for all the n points, and then add them to get the integral, which is I. Let's see one example to make this process clear. Here we have a function, integral x square plus 5x plus 3. The limits are between 2 and 6. Here 6 is not showing, it must be 6 here, 2 to 6. Okay, so first step is to convert this x into lambda using this equation. In our case, b equals 6, the upper limit, a equals 2, the lower limit. Put these values here, you will get x equals 4 plus 2 lambda. So the first step is done. Now, once you change the x, of course, dx should also be changed. So when x equal to 4 plus lambda, what will be dx? Dx will be just here is the function lambda. So if you want to take derivative of x with respect to lambda, you will say dx over d lambda will be b minus a over 2. B minus a is 6 minus 2, that is 4 over 2 is 2. So that is dx over d lambda equals 2. So dx will be 2 d lambda. Now we are going to this integral which is given and replace x with this 4 plus 2 lambda and dx with 2 d lambda. So that is being done here. Okay, wherever you have x, you replace with 4 plus 2 lambda. So this 2, I will explain why there is 2 here. But ignoring that 2, we have x equal to 4 plus 2 lambda square, x square, plus 5 times 4 plus 2 lambda plus 3. Now here is this dx. This dx from the last slide, it is 2d lambda. What we have here is, instead of in the place of dx, you will write 2d lambda. Okay. But when you replace this integral in terms of lambda and write it, you should have only d lambda. But now we have 2d lambda in the place of dx. So that 2 must come out. So that 2 has come here, and now the total thing is f of lambda, including that 2. Okay, this is where you have to be careful. Okay, now we are going to use 2 sampling points. So here from the table, we are going to use 2 sampling points. These are the sampling points. Lambda 1 is minus 0.57735 and lambda 2 is plus 0.57735. and weighting factors is 1 for both. So here, wherever I have lambda, so now I decided that this will be my f of lambda. 2 times the whole stuff is my lambda, f of lambda. So in this lambda, first I am going to use minus 0.57735. So f of lambda 1 is 2 times 4 plus 2, this 2 times, instead of lambda, in the place of lambda, I'm going to put minus 0.57735, the whole thing square, plus 5 times 4 plus, again, in the place of lambda, I'm going to put minus 0.577, and this 3 remains as 3. If you do that, you get 50.6444. This is f of lambda 1. Now, I'm going to use the next value of lambda, which is plus 0.7735. In the same equation, I do that, I get 110.6888. So this is f of lambda 1, this is f of lambda 2. But as per the procedure, we have to multiply this f of lambda 1 with a weighting function and f of lambda 2 with another weighting function. So in this case, it has happened so that both weighting functions are 1 from the table I showed you before. Both weighting functions are equal to 1. So it is like saying 1 times f of lambda 1 plus 1 times f of lambda 2. So that is done here. 1 times f of lambda 1 plus 1 times f of lambda 2. You sum that, you get 161.33. So this is the value of integral we want. Now how do we check this number? This is a simple integration formula, and you know how to integrate it by hand for the usual procedure. X cube over 3 plus 5x square over 2. Like that, if you do that integration by normal procedure, you will get the value. You can compare that value with this integration and then compare the values. Of course, if you want to improve the accuracy of this number, what you are getting, then you have to go for more sampling points, 3 or 4 or 5, whichever you like, but the process remains the same. If, for example, if you are using 3 sampling points, then you have to write W1 f of lambda 1 plus W2 f of lambda 2 plus W3 f of lambda 3. Okay, lambda 1, lambda 2, lambda 3, as well as W1, W2, W3 will be from the table. Next, we move on to heat transfer problems. Since you have completed an entire course on heat transfer, you must be knowing the basic concepts of the modes of heat transfer, convection, conduction. Of course, we don't cover radiation here. Now the task is to use the finite element method to the heat transfer problems. So we are going to discuss only one-dimensional heat transfer problems without heat generation. This is the equation which defines the heat transfer in one direction, that is only x, Ka d square T over dx square equals to 0, where K is the thermal conductivity of the material, A is the cross-sectional area of the body through which the heat transfer takes place, T is the temperature, and X is the different locations along the thickness or length of the body through which heat is transferred. Now, we have been using the word stiffness matrix right from bar till the 2D elements which we discussed in the last part, even during dynamic analysis. But in heat transfer problems, we are using a different word which is called conductivity matrix. The idea is similar, but the word we used is conductivity matrix. It is similar to stiffness matrix. This is given by Ka over L, 1 minus 1 minus 1, 1. This is, maybe if you remember the stiffness matrix of a bar, which is AE over L, 1 minus 1 minus 1, 1. This has close resemblance with that matrix. The only difference is here, instead of E in a bar element. Here we have a K, which is conductivity. Now, this is only with conduction. If you have a convection also, then HA term should be added at the corresponding location in K. Suppose that I have a convection at node 2, then 2 position, I have to add this HA term, where H is the thermal conductivity, heat transfer, convection heat transfer coefficient of the fluid. And load vector consists of heat generation, if any, and the effect of convection. So in structural cases, we know what is load vector. It is simply the vector which tells you where is the load and how much is the load. In here, in heat transfer problems, load vector consists of heat generation, if there is any heat generation, and the effect of convection. So what we will do is we will take up the case of a fin and see how we can apply this idea. All of you know what is a fin. A fin is an additional surface added to an existing surface to increase the heat transfer from the given body. Now we are going to discuss two cases. One is the heat loss through the tip is ignored, and if the heat loss through the tip is considered. There are two cases. So if you take this is the fin, so are you going to consider the heat loss through the tip or not? That is the difference between these two cases. First, let us take the case in which we don't consider the heat loss through the tip. So if you take this case, this conductance matrix for any element in the structure is given by this Ka over L 1 minus 1 minus 1 1 plus HPL over 6 2 1 1 2. Now H we already discussed. H is the convection coefficient. L is the length of the element. Now this P is called the perimeter of the fin. All of you know the meaning of perimeter. If you have a circle, the circle perimeter is pi times diameter. That if it's a circle, so that is called the perimeter of the fin. Okay, this is the conductance matrix for any element. Now the load vector for any element is given by H, P, L, all are as here. TF is the fluid that is passing through the fin. For example, here if you take this fin, there is air or some other fluid that may be passing over this. So that is the temperature TF of that fluid which is passing over the fin. So we have K and we have F. And usually what we write Ku equals F. Then the same process can be applied here, Ku equals F. But the only difference is now the U has been till now it is millimeters or meters because we have discussed structural cases. Now here the U is actually temperature. So when you say U, it's a vector of temperatures at different points in the structure along which you are doing this analysis. Now, what if you also consider the heat loss through the tip of the fin? Now, heat loss, when it is considered, there are two steps that must be done in the analysis. Supposing that we have a structure of a fin in which I do have tip transfer. So the meaning of tip transfer is suppose we have a fin like this, and let us say we have 1, 2, 3 elements here. 3 elements here. When I say heat loss through the tip of the fin, I mean the heat loss through here, to this area. So if you see this, though there are three elements, only element 3 is having the tip loss, because element 1 and element 2, they are not exposed to their tips are not exposed to the atmosphere. So only element 3 has its surface, the tip surface, exposed to the atmosphere. So if you have to consider the heat loss through the tip, you should do two steps. First step, you should consider all the elements except the last element, because the last element is what is exposed to the atmosphere. So you have to do this separately, and the other elements you have to do separately, and then assemble them. This problem was not there in the first case because we ignored the tip loss. So all elements are the same in that case. But in the present case, since only element 3 is exposed to the tip transfer, tip heat loss, we have to do that separately and do other elements separately. This is where the thing is different. Now, if you read this, it says conductance matrix for any element except the last element. Last element in this example was element number 3. Okay, so this is from the beginning, from before. If you compare this case and this case, they are the same. Now, what happens to the last element? So the last element, these two will be there anyway. Now this term, this 0, 0, 0 HA comes because that element's tip is exposed to convection of coefficient H. So this term comes extra to the last element because of that tip transfer. So similarly, the load vector will be also be different for the last element only, and for the other elements, the load vector remains the same. And the load vector for any element except the last is HPLTF over 2, 1, 1. Again, this is from the previous case. Only for the last element, we have to add the effect of the heat convection, that is HATF, must be added to the last element. Here we have 0 HATF because the last element, if I draw the last element, now these are elements 1, 2, 3, 4. If you take the nodes 1, 2, 3, 4 nodes. So if you take only the last element, node 3 is not concerned when it comes to tip loss. The tip is only at node 4. So node 4's position, that is this position, will be filled by HATF. I will see this example. Here, this aluminum fins of rectangular profile is shown in figure. Rectangular profile means this cross section is rectangle. They are used to remove the heat from a surface whose temperature is 100 degrees Celsius. That means this temperature of this surface here is 100 degrees Celsius. The temperature of the ambient air is 20 degree. The air which is surrounding this surface is 20 degree. The thermal conductivity of aluminum is 168 watt per meter Kelvin. It is same as watt per meter Celsius. The natural convective coefficient with the air is 30 watt per meter square Kelvin. The fins are 80 mm long, 5 mm wide, and 1 mm thick. This must be not 80, this is 60 mm thick, not 80. So here, this is, you have to correct this as 60 mm. Let me go to the whiteboard. So the fin, the one fin, which is of rectangular section, is like this. So this is the fin. and here is the surface which is at 100 degree. So this is the surface which is at 100 degree, and this is the fin which we are considering now. So the problem says the fins are not 80, it is 60 mm, 5 millimeter wide and 1 millimeter thick. So this length is 60 millimeters, 5 millimeter wide, this is 5 millimeter, and this thickness is 1 millimeter. So around this fin we have the air which is flowing, and this air has a temperature of 20 degree and H value is given for this air. The question says find the temperature distribution along the fin. First question. Second question says compute the heat loss per fin. Ignore the heat loss from the tip of the fin. So if you recollect our discussion before, we said this can be done in two ways. In first case, we don't consider the heat loss through the tip. That is, heat loss through this tip must be ignored. That's what the problem says. Okay. So they have shown also how this must be discretized. So they say use 3 elements of equal length, 20, 20, 20, means 60 millimeters total. So this 60 millimeters has to be divided into 3 equal parts. Element 1, element 2, element 3. Each of this is 20 millimeter long. And these are the nodes 1, 2, 3, 4. So first we have to find the heat distribution along the fin. That means at various points along the fin, what is the temperature? Now when I say various points, if you use only 3 elements, that is 4 nodes, maximum you can find only 4 temperatures. And among those 4, the temperature of node 1 is already given to you, 100 degrees Celsius. So this is node 1 and this is node 4. So T1 is already known to us. We have to find T2, T3, T4. That's what it means. Of course, if you want to find at more points, let us say I want to find at 6 different points in the fin, then I have to go to that many elements. Okay. So let us start with writing the conductance matrix for each element. But if you see the problem, all the elements are the same in terms of length, in terms of area, in terms of K. So nothing will change. If you find the conductance matrix for one element, that will be the same for all the elements. Now, this is K. Ka over L. So this is K. 168 is given as K. Now what is A? A is this area. This area. This area is a rectangle. So 5 millimeter times 1 millimeter. That is 5 times 10 power minus 3. 1 times 10 power minus 3 because I am converting them into meters. So 5 times 1 times 10 power minus 6. That is this. Over L. L is the thickness or element length. So we have element length is 20 millimeters. So that is 20 again converted into meters. 1 minus 1 minus 1 1. This is for the conduction. Now for the convection, it says H PL over 6. What is this H? It is a convection coefficient which is given to you. 30 watt per meter square is the H value which is given to you. Now A HP, not A, HPL over 6. P is the perimeter. Perimeter is, so this is called the perimeter. If we draw the rectangle here, this is 5 and this is 1. Perimeter means the total length of this rectangular area, that is 5, another 5, so 10 plus 1 plus 1. So 12 millimeter is the perimeter of this rectangle. So 12 times 10 power minus 3, of course. And again, length is 20 times minus 3. So 12 times 20 times 10 power minus 6. That is what is given here. Over 6, 2, 1, 1, 2. Now, if you do the simplifications, you get for all the matrix, for all the elements, this is the conductance matrix. Now, let us come to the load vector. Again, load vector HPLTF over 2, 1, 1. So H we already discussed, P we discussed, L we discussed. Now this TF is the temperature of the air or any fluid that is flowing. And in this problem, it is given as 20 degree. So H P L. Now this is TF 20 degree over 2, 1, 1. So you get these two numbers. This is for one element, for any element. Now we have written individual conductance matrices, individual force matrices, like it's saying ESM and ELM, element load vector. We have now add them or assemble them to get the global matrix. We know how to do that. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Now 0.0444 is from here for the first element. So 0.0444 from the first element, then minus 0.0408 minus 0.0408. Here we have plus 0.044. This is for the first element. Now we have been seeing this for long time now, so we must know how to connect. This is for the first element. Then the second element, same thing, but it will come and connect here. Plus 0.04444 minus 0.0408 minus 0.0408 plus 0.4444. And then the third element, start from here, plus 0.0444 minus 0.0408, like this. So we have a 4x4 matrix. This is quite a simple thing now, because we have been doing it for the whole semester. So this is what you get as a global conductance matrix. Now again, global load vector 0.072, 0.072, plus 0.072, 0.072, plus 0.072, 0.072. So this is the global load vector. Now once we write the stiffness of the conductance matrix on the load vector, we can write the usual equation, which is Ku equals F. So this is the whole thing is K. This is K, and this is U equals F. Now we have to apply the boundary conditions, but things are a bit tricky here. It is not like the usual case where we remove the rows and columns. The reason is, in those cases we know the displacement is 0, so we remove that row and that column. But here the temperature is not 0; it is given. It is given to be 100 degree. That means T1 temperature is given as 100 degree. T1 is 100 degree. So that means we cannot simply remove the rows and columns, but we have to be a bit careful here. We know this is 100. So anyway, we remove the first row and first column because the temperature is given, is fixed. as 100. So we remove the first row and the first column. But see what is happening. Here is a number. When we say remove, we assume as if there is no number, which is not correct because there's a number and that effect must be considered. Now, how to consider that? See this number, what you have here, multiply that number with the given temperature, which is 100. So if you multiply minus 0.0408 with 100, you get minus 4.08. Now bring that minus 4, this minus 4.08 should have been here, but we remove this number, which is not correct. So what we do, we put this number back here, this side, but with a plus sign. So that is to say, since we are removing a non-zero number and make it a zero, that effect should be considered this side. Okay. So whatever I have here already, with that I should add this 4.08. So that is what I will have here. Here if you see, already I have 0.072, 0.072. Now with that I am going to add 4.08. So if I do that, I will get this matrix. If you solve this matrix, you get these temperatures, which are quite logical because as you go from this point towards this point, the temperature should come down. It was 100 here. Now it is at node 2, it is 78, node 3, 66, like that it is going. So it looks logical. Okay, this is about the temperature distribution along the points. Now, the second question says, find the heat loss through the fin. Compute the heat loss per fin. Now, if you want to do that, simply go to the each element and then find the heat transfer through each element, then add them. So this is the equation we'll be using to find the heat transfer through any element. This Tij tells you the first and second node. For example, this is I, this is J for the first element. Then for the second element, this is I, this is J. That is 2 is I, 3 is J. Now for the third element, 3 is I, 4 is J. This Tf is known to us already. So if we use this equation for element 1, then these things are already known to us. So here I is 100, that is T1 is given as 100, and in the previous step we found T2 as 78. So 100 plus 78 over 2 minus Tf. This is for the first element. You get 0.496. Now for the second element, nothing here will change, but inside the bracket, now we have to use 2 and 3. That is 78 plus 66. And you find it to be 0.399 watts, almost 0.4 watts. For element 3, it is 66 plus 63. And if you do that, you get 0.32. Now you get individual heat transfers, add them to get the total heat loss, which is around 1.2 watts. So this is the case of a fin. How to find the heat transfer and temperature distribution through a fin. Now we will discuss a composite wall. So here, if you see this problem, it says there's an industrial oven is made of 3 different materials as shown in the figure. The first layer is composed of 5 centimeters of insulating cement with a clay binder that has a thermal conductivity of 0.08. So there are 3 elements, 3 materials which are used to make a composite wall, and each one of them has their own conductivity given here, 0.8, 0.07, like this. This is given here, and each of the thicknesses are also given. The first material is of thickness 5 centimeters. and then is 15, then is 10, is also given. The inside wall temperature of the oven is 200 degrees Celsius and the outside air is 30 degrees Celsius with the convection of 40 watt per meter square Kelvin. So this outside temperature of the air is 30 degree and the convection coefficient is 40. Okay, the inside temperature of the oven, this temperature is 200 degrees Celsius. So the question says find the heat, the temperature distribution along the composite wall. So as compared to the fin problem, this is a bit easier. So this is the conductance elements Ka over L, 1 minus 1 minus 1. I'm doing for the first element. For the first element, K is given as 0.08 and length is given as 5 centimeters. So 0.08. Now in this problem, the area is not given. Area means this area, the cross-sectional area is not given here. So since it is not given, we can assume it to be 1 meter square. So A is assumed to be 1 meter square and length is 5 centimeters, which is 0.05 meters. Okay, so you get this number for the first element. Now for the load vector, we said load vector has to be considered in two occasions. If there's heat generation, if there's a convection effect. Now for the first node, first element, there is nothing. There is no heat generation, there is no convection. So this becomes 0, 0. Now for the second element, K is different. K is 0.074 and length is also different. It is 15 centimeters. So plug that values here and you get this. Again, for the second element, there is no heat generation, there is no convection. Now come to the third element. If you see the third element, this is exposed to the air. This element is exposed to the air. So what we should do, we should write in two parts. Ka over L, 1 minus 1 minus 1, 1. This is for the conductance part as done before for the two elements. Now for the third element, since there is a convection effect, we have to add that effect by writing 0, 0, 0 HA. Now I already explained to you why we write HA in this position. Because this is the position which represents node 4. So only for that position we have to write, supposing that this is the composite wall we have. There are 3 elements, 4 nodes. These are the nodes and these are the elements. Normally when you write a load vector for one element, you will write 2 values because there are 2 nodes. Now for the third element, if you take third node for the third element does not have any convection. It has only conduction. But the fourth node is exposed to air. So only on this position you have to write HA. That is what is done here. 0, 0, 0 HA. Now for the third element, K value, A, L all are known. Here this H is the convection coefficient which is given as 40. Again area is assumed to be 1. So if you do this simplifications, you get this matrix for the third element. For the first 2 elements, we said there is no load because no heat generation, there is no convection. But for the second, for the last element, we have this convection, so that must be considered when you write the load. For the third element, it is 0. This is belonging to the third node, which is there is no heat convection. At node number 4, we have heat convection, and that effect is given by HATF. TF is the fluid temperature, the air temperature, which is given as 330. So we have 0, 1200 is the load vector for the third element. Now that we have individual K values, K matrices, and individual force vectors or load vectors, we can, as usual, assemble the matrix. This is a global matrix. This is a global matrix. Again, this is a very simple thing to understand because you have just to keep adding element by element. And this is a load vector. Writing Ku equals F, we get this matrix. This is K. This is U is the T1, T2, T3, T4 because we have 4 nodes equals F. F is this. Now again, since as we did in the fin problem, the temperature is given to be 200. So we remove the first row and the first column. But again, for the same reasons I explained to you in the fin problem, here we have minus 1.6. So this must be multiplied with that number 200, which is minus 320. So minus 320 should go to this side as plus 320. So your the actual load vector on the right side will be 320, 0, 1200. And if you solve it, you have these numbers T2, T3, T4. Again, this looks logical because T1 temperature is given us to be 200 and it slowly reduces. This is how we do the composite wall problem. Now there's an exercise that is given. You can do this exercise and verify your answers with what is given in the solution.